think that's a really excellent way of dealing with some of the stress we're having.
Get a Great Dane.
Yeah. Or maybe a smaller dog. I don't know. But
Go to the movies.
I don't
Let's
do
start small.
Yeah.
Hello, Liz.
Hello, Lee. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Hello, everyone.
We are here. Guess what I have? Branded. Which one is this? Salted melon, our Hilliard smoothie. You really want to go to try this. We have them in the studio.
That was the most weak advertisement I've ever heard.
We've got these
smoothies. It is an advertisement. Your whole life is an advertisement. You're Hilliard. That's Hilliard. That's Hilliard. We're in Hilliard. Hey, welcome to Hilliard Studio Method. This is Liz Hilliard, and I'm just going to call myself Hilliard.
But let's go back to
try again. Give me some oomph. Give me some energy. I know it's Monday and it's rainy, but like
we're
I
excited.
Know.
We're excited. We are excited because if you haven't tried a Hilliard Studio Method smoothie, it's called the Hilliard at Salted Melon. You need to try it. They've had it on the menu since January, and it's a big hit. And by the way, they're really healthy. And all the ingredients, of course, are in the studio if you want to make your own. But go over there because it's such a cool store. And
pass it to me. I'm going to try to do it better.
Okay, she's going to do better.
Okay, we're going to see who does the better advertisement.
Oh, you're going to win this. She's already got the TV voice. You missed your point. It's not too late. Keep going.
Hi, Lee Kennelly here with Liz Hilliard, founder and owner of Hilliard Studio Method. She created the Hilliard Studio Method's signature smoothie, and guess what? It's so popular that our neighbors down the road, Salted Melon, have collaborated with us to make the Hilliard smoothie with 27 grams of protein, high in fiber, antioxidants, omega-3s. It's just the most tasty thing you've ever had.
Wow. You're hired. You're hired. She's, again, nicely done.
Thank you. You can have your smoothie back because I know you need your protein.
Yeah, I do. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. All in one, baby. It's your thirst quenched. So here we are.
Happy rainy Monday. Mm-hmm. Spring is springing. I'll take the
thirsty
rain.
By the time they hear this,
to
it's going
wash
to be
it away. Yeah, who cares what day it is?
It doesn't
matter.
I think it's going to be rainy again. It's quite a week.
It's rainy in my head.
Yeah.
But we had a nice weekend. Let's do a little recap.
Okay. Yeah, because we got some things to talk about.
Do you want to start from the beginning and go to the end, or would you like to reverse back our weekend?
I don't even know what we did.
I know, that's the thing. That's why I asked.
I don't know.
How the hell can you remember 2 days ago?
I can't remember what I did this morning. So here we are. Let's go to, we went to the Beckler event on Friday.
Okay, so we're going to go Friday to Sunday. We're going to go in chronological order. So we went to the Beckler.
It's original.
Brain-inspiring. Yep. Our Modern Art Museum in Charlotte, which you maybe or maybe don't know. We hosted the gala last year. This year we went as just patrons.
Yes. And had fun.
It was fun. It was a fun circus theme. We looked good.
We thought we did.
We had fun. They did a great job. But we do need to go back and spend more time seeing the most recent exhibit.
Yeah, we didn't make it to the fourth floor. They've got such cool exhibits there. So what else did we do this weekend?
Okay, well, I don't know why you don't remember this because it's probably scarred in your memory, but we're new members. We joined a club.
What club? Oh, the protest club?
No.
What club?
The Big Box Club.
What? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I forgot that
I know.
I blocked it.
I know.
Now, can we just let's just talk
Give them a little
that.
background.
So I decided on Saturday, we had no real plans. So we decided to go to the protest rally that was in Billingsley, but we didn't really know where it was. We hadn't signed up for it. We just wanted to see, hey, what's going on in Charlotte? Because people turned out. They had 3,500 people there. We didn't know it was that big. We showed up. It was really peaceful, really fun. It was really fun and really uplifting and positive. And I don't know, I didn't see any bad things happening. But anyway, that was super inspirational, which we might go back in just a minute and talk about.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So
but
you jump in
that inspired me because I never go to anything. I never go to Walmart, Target. I never go to Costco. I never go to any of these places. And I went, look, if we're going to be on the right side of history, we're going to go to Costco. And she's like, what? I'm like, no, we're going to go because we need to
Let me help you explain this story.
Do your TV voice.
We are struggling with the state of the world and have a lot of fear and concern going on.
Trauma.
And what you asked if we could do was go doomsday shopping.
I did.
You did. You
I
said
used
we
those
need to go
words.
doomsday shopping so that we are prepared when the end of the world comes.
Right.
And I said,
is
sign
a
me
thought.
up. It's Saturday. Why not? So trying to go to proper stores that we believe do not directly fund Project 2025.
Yeah, and
we've decided to go to Costco. Now, I've been before. I was once a member. Had you ever been before we went Saturday?
No.
Okay. So I'd like you to know that one time, our friend told this story, and it's a great story. A while back, your credit card company called you, and they were like, suspicious activity on the credit card. And you said, what is it? And they said, Harris Teeter.
This is a true story. This is a true story. I was going through the line at Harris Teeter right here in Myers Park, and got a call. The lady goes, "You're going to need to check with your credit card people. They weren't going to let this transaction go through."
Someone in your family's going
So
to the grocery
I'm not
store.
a big
so,
shopper.
you're not a shopper, much less that's your local grocery store, much less a big box. And Costco, I'm going to say, is the biggest of the boxes.
Holy.
And so we pull up, and you're just like, I'm going to be a member. We are going to load up. And we showed up, and you...
Okay, first of all, there were 3,500 people at this rally. There were 2,800 people at Costco. Okay, I'm pretty sure that was the number, or more.
Or more.
And when you pull in, it's like a traffic jam. I mean, it looked like going to a Hornets game. It was crazy. And people are, I'm like, how are that many people in this building? This seems to be
That's
a
a great
code
question.
problem, you know?
A code problem.
So though we walk in and we go and we stand in line. We stand in line to pay $60 or something? $65 for a membership card. And first of all, but then I got behind it. I'm like, this is my citizen. We're going to do this. And we stood in line. We got up there, and then there was the decision. Whose face is going to be on the card?
So you wanted to be the member, and I said, I wonder who's going to be the one to come most often. And the real reason, you can get a household card, but my ID doesn't have your address on it because we don't live together all the time. And of course, I didn't have like a bill in my pocket with your address on it. So I'm the member.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go.
Yeah. Which is great
because I
had
survived, but
barely.
It was tricky.
No, I got real fired up, got the cart, started going, found the wines that were really cheap because that was the first thing I noticed.
We did not buy any wine.
And we did not buy wine, but and then I got into the bowels of this place. And it's like a sci-fi play. I mean, it just goes miles in either direction. And that's when I lost my equilibrium. I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it in here. I had to focus down on the cart, and you would go up
on
and
your
down
phone.
the aisles, and I was just like scrolling on my phone because I can't look around. There's just too many things to look at.
So first of all, the cart is 3 times the size of this table.
Is, yeah.
So
it's
I'm
a workout.
trying to
it's a good workout.
Get through the 2,800 people.
Yeah.
Manage your
anxiety.
Yes, impending, rising anxiety, like sweaty pits, sweat dripping. At one point, we were in the cheese section, and some guy walks up to you. I see this out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, I got to get her out of here. He's just like, it was really hot.
He came up to me and goes, do I know you? And I'm like, I don't know. You do not know me. He goes, and then he just kept kind of following me around.
He wouldn't let it go. And he goes, Jenny? Like I saw her kind of go way off and him say a couple names like, are you that? I was like, oh God, we got to go.
So I just disappeared behind the cheese. I was out. At that point, I was done. So we went fast after that.
We went fairly fast. We saw one good friend we hadn't seen in a while, Carolyn. Great to see you.
Yeah.
She's doing streaming at home, and she's going to be 80 this year. And she can do
20
she can
push-ups.
do 2 sets of 25 push-ups every day.
I remember it.
You do?
It's 2 sets of 10 push-ups, but she does.
I thought it was more.
Okay, maybe it's 20. Carolyn,
say 20.
You're going to have to come in and show us. Her name is Carolyn Killingsworth. Can we say that? Yeah, we are. She can do push-ups. Now, she's on her knees, but her form is perfect because she used to come in here all the time. And she does 2 sets every day. And I believe it's 10 and 10. It could be 20 and 20.
20 and 20.
Okay, we're going with that.
Which is awesome because I had recently seen something. We're digressing real quick. We're going to get back.
Yeah.
I'd heard someone say women should be able to do 11 push-ups. And I'm like, 11? We're cranking out like 60 to 80 in here every day. So we've got that
And you
covered.
don't have to be on the ground, right? So we have people up against the wall. We have them on their knees. We just keep them in good form. You're getting the same benefit. We did digress.
Okay. So there were a few times what started
so
to
much to
happen.
drink.
What you keep drinking. Talking of Costco, you're getting really nervous. So we finally made it through the membership line, through the produce section, and now we're in like the paper products. We load up on the water and the paper products and the cleaning products. And so every aisle, I would stop it and be like, you stay here, you're gonna be okay. And I would run down the aisle and try to get a couple of things and be like, do you think we're gonna use these? In the cart, out of the cart. And we made it.
We did. Anyway, that was a great experience, and I'm glad we got that card.
Right.
Because you're going to enjoy
Well, see, the whole thing is I'm really against like hoarding.
I'm not.
Like we went
we need to do that.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
Do you remember COVID when you couldn't get toilet paper? This is what happens.
Yeah.
When people hoard
I'm
shit,
not,
we get screwed.
I don't think that's happening right now. We all learned our lesson there.
I don't know about that.
But you need some LeSueur peas, and we did buy a case of LeSueur peas, which are some of my favorite. I can literally eat those out of the can with a spoon.
But that's always the struggle. I'm like, why are we at Costco getting stuff that doesn't fit in our home for two people to use?
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
we
we
shopped
did that.
wisely, but we'll be back at how often we frequent Costco. I will say when we left, there were 1,155 people waiting in line for their gas. I didn't know
Costco
this
is killing
was a
it.
thing.
They are killing it. And then, the whole thing, it's because Target, and by the way, we'll put it in the show notes, but if you don't know what, I'm sure you do know this, but just in case, Project 2025 is a pretty rough document that some really, it's very far right. I would venture to say it's very authoritarian and very bad for our nation, for our democracy. So the people that were supporting that were people like Target, I believe, and they have really lost a lot of money, and that's too bad. Or actually, they were supporting cutting DEI and things like that.
Right.
But it was also the 2025 stuff, because I did read up. I'm not going to just not go somewhere that I ever went to Target, but
True.
and it is closer. But no, I can't support people that want to restrain women's rights. In some cases, women unable to vote. Mm-hmm. So many things. And
It's just companies that are funding.
Read it. It's impressively scary.
Right, but and that's kind of an older document that is now being used. Mm-hmm. And it's about corporations who are supporting things that we don't believe in, or who operationally are running their company in a way that we don't believe in, we'd like to avoid. Also, want to toot the shop local horn, right? Because that's a huge deal, and that's highly important for us and you as a business owner. And you have power with your purse.
Well, we
and
do
all
have
our
power.
purse strings are very tight and just going to get a lot tighter. And so I think that's a perfect example or analogy, kind of an adjacent shopping with your purse, protesting, it's like smaller ways to make your voice heard that create or show resistance to something that you believe is wrong. And we just rocked it out of the park Saturday with Costco and a protest.
We did. We really did. And I want to make something clear here, because we're going to kind of talk about this a little bit. We are not anti-President Trump. We are anti-President Trump's agenda.
I was like, what? We're not?
We are, because I said when he got elected, I didn't vote for him. I don't like what he's probably saying he's going to do, but I'm going to support him until, I see some problems. And we've got massive.
Didn't have one day where there wasn't a problem, in my opinion.
Right.
I think it,
Right.
from day one, it was just executive
Right.
order
And
after
it's just-
executive
yeah.
order.
And
So-
it's obviously not well thought out. Did you get on that text chain? We had the national security text chain.
Oh,
It's like, I didn't get on, but and also
too bad.
Anyway, but so I just wanted to say that I intend to be a good, conscientious American, and I think at this point, protecting our rights and our democracy we're in the death throes of democracy, and so any small thing we can do. And for me, it was large to go to Costco, but any small thing we can do makes a difference. And showing up for people and speaking our voices, because we're terrified. They're ruling through fear, and they are ruling. Sure. Make no mistake. This is not governing. This is ruling through fear, and that is the ultimate dictatorship. Anywho, so we were going to talk about how we have been practicing our own resistance.
And that's what we did. Going back to the protest, it was very nice to be what I felt was surrounded by people who I knew we all believe the same thing, because I think we're running into that a lot in our, not us personally, but everybody running into that issue of, God, it's hard to know what anybody thinks or feels. And then therefore, how do I feel about them? It's been very weird. So to be around a group of people who, love and support you felt nice, first of all.
I just still want to keep circling back to, I want to be supportive of even the people that voted for this nonsense we're involved in right now. Because I think a lot of that I think a lot of people were not really aware that it was going to happen this way, and that we all do the best we can.
Right.
But we are in a position that I, in my wildest imagination, never knew that this narcissistic president had up his sleeve. I mean, this is really truthfully dealing with somebody that cares nothing for anybody but himself and his money. I mean,
right. That's very true.
And we've never had that before. I mean, his first round, he did enact some tariffs, and our stock market was pretty good. So I can totally see why people in business would vote for him. They just close their eyes to the Project 2025 stuff. But here we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good point and a better way to go through the world, supporting people, and maybe no one really knew, even though he did say he was going to do a lot of this.
Yes.
We did know. So I feel like you're kind of switching teams.
I'm
but
not
whatever.
switching teams.
Not teams, but
Not
just your
switching teams.
tune.
I'm on team.
But to be positive about it, I think it's important for those who perhaps did vote for Donald Trump and see problems with what's going on to be active with their voice and their resistance. I mean, this doesn't, like you said, maybe before we started recording, this doesn't even have to be right or left. It's more about right and wrong and what's, productive for our communities and our societies and us as humans to make it through unscathed, because everybody's getting crushed right now.
Yeah, everybody's getting crushed, especially some of the poorer people, but also the very, very rich. So there's that, if it makes you feel any better. So, yeah, I think that because this is a definite authoritarian government that we've got, just taking away rights left and right, they fire so many people every day that we can't quite keep up. That besides, marching and gathering together in communities, or, supporting one another, or even speaking out to our Republican representatives, which I've been calling Tom Tillis on a regular basis, and, just going, hey, could you speak out? You're up there. It's your watch. This is your watch. And I have no doubt, there's all kinds of threats going his way and from this administration. But anyway, we have just by you and me being who we are, we're an act of resistance. We're two women that are together. We could be full of fear, and sometimes it is fearful. But just being yourself can, really.
I mean, how does it relate? Let's talk about that and the fear that we have in this particular climate. What is the fear? What are we afraid of? Our rights, our democracy, our freedom in a general voice. What is it that you and I were afraid of when we did come out, and how we managed to go through that and grow and move through the fear? So at that time, our fear is probably a lot. Mine was based around, my family and my children, and yours was based around your family, your child, grandchildren, and your business. Your business. And so what do we do with that fear? And I think what we've always done, what you're saying, is stay true to our authentic, truest, most joyful selves.
Right. And to reach out to other people in that way, every way you can, with joy and with help. People need help. People are afraid, and people need, everybody I see, no matter what stripe they are, how are you doing? There's got to be, we probably need to come up with a better term than how are you doing? Well, how about how are you doing this moment? Or,
Right. What can I do to help you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. Any great activist would say, when we state a problem, what are you doing about it? It's solution based, whether that's from your purse or your vote or your voice or your service.
Right. I got nothing here. I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, what's so hard for me to talk about this right now is, and I'm writing this book, and at some point we might pull some excerpts out and talk about them, because I'm writing in an environment when this is just against every grain in my soul. What do you mean you want to take away the freedom? Why? What's the point? I mean, as a matter of fact, it might be a time for me to read this one passage. I said I wasn't going to talk about the book, but I am going to talk about the book because I can't help but write who I am.
Right.
And that's when I think you're writing your best. And so
you've written one book. How is this book? Let me ask you a few questions before you read and we discuss. What is the reason why you're writing this book and what is its direction or about? Because I'm not pretending. I really don't know. Like I'm not.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Reading
No, she hasn't seen any of it. Nobody has. I'm writing it and sort of letting it form itself because the first book I wrote about be powerful and finding your own strength, whatever age you were, started out just like this. Started out with a book about the workout, how the workout inspires the rest of your life.
Right.
Feeling in control and powerful about your bodily movement can also inspire you to do greater things you never expected to do. So I wrote a book about that. It turned out to be a little bit more about the personal side in some ways. So I did start delving in there. So this one, because it came out right around the time we were coming out ourselves, such a weird thing that was because, it was about owning your power. So I went in, I don't even know what I'm calling this one yet, but it is part memoir and part sort of things I've learned along the way. It's not about the workout. It's not just about me. It's not a complete memoir, even though I think it is. But I keep finding myself writing things like I'll read this and I can't quite decide which part to start, but I think I'll start there.
Okay.
And like it's during this political discourse and I'm writing about freedom in this one chapter. And, why in the world would you want to take away anyone's freedom of anything? What skin off your back is that? So anyway, I wrote this is just a part. I'll just read it and you can respond. Whether you're a man or a woman, if you consider yourself to be a decider of another's soul, body, or thoughts, are you okay with those that do, then you might be part of the patriarchy. We've all been indoctrinated, or more aptly gaslit from birth. Sometimes it takes a while to unpack our misguided assumptions and beliefs from well-meaning teachers, parents, religions, and governments. But make no mistake, the patriarchy doesn't work for the whole. Look around at our relationships, our communities, our world. We're not utilizing the brilliance of the balance. Our imbalance of masculine over feminine energy has caused chaos and trauma to both men and women for centuries. Just as we don't benefit from a male-dominated society, we might not benefit from the opposite either. Inside the balance is our true power. That said, I'll read this last line. Who wouldn't like to see a council of women deciding on deeply embedded hyper-machoisms, hatred, and terror happening right now in our government? It's hard to get around what's going on in the present. I wrote this way before what we're doing. This is one of the first things I wrote before all this came down.
Well, I just feel like that's always been how you've felt, how you've seen the world, that you've always bumped up against anything that is too one-sided, that is not curious about other people, that is embedded in power over another group. And I just think that's been a theme really throughout your life. That you've always tried to inspire this version of be powerful, which is for everyone, not just
to empower
certain people,
not overpower.
So talk a little bit about the brilliance of the balance. I like the way you say that and where kind of if that came from somewhere in your soul and what it means to you and what you hope it looks like.
That literally just, to me, when I'm balanced, I think we can look at our world, we can reduce it down to our own bodies. We are part energy female, part energy male. We project physically as either a female or a male sometimes, but we carry those energies. And that's what's going on in our government, I believe, right now. And if all this hyper machoism and men want to dominate women as they did in the 19th century or something, or even maybe even 50 years ago, that is not productive for them. Those that are threatened by that are just afraid, and I understand why they're afraid, because they don't have that balance in themselves. And the curiosity that I think it takes, and the courage to have that curiosity is what's missing. And because I had to do it for myself.
Yeah.
It takes courage to question yourself and to know that maybe what you think isn't true. And I question myself constantly. Just because I think it, or just because I feel it, doesn't mean it's true.
Right.
To constantly question doesn't mean you're wishy-washy and weak. It means you're powerful and strong and can understand one extreme far right or an extreme far left. We're going government here is troublesome. But the balance is in the center, just like the balance is in the center of the body and the humanity of being a person. I have embraced my feminine weirdly more with you than I did before. You would think I'd say the opposite.
No, I wouldn't.
Because I was always kind of sexy and a model and all this sort of things. But I had a real more male energy thing. Not male, not man, not to be confused. Masculine, sort of a driven, but there's a softness that you brought to me that is a balance where I feel like, it's never, I don't think that we ever really make our perfect balance. There's always this going on, but I believe that I'm really, really more whole and happy because I had the curiosity to fall in love with you, a woman.
And you are not having and haven't had to prove your strength to me. So I'm wondering if the, life before me energy that you were putting out was to survive in a world full of male energy and men, that you had to go, I have a seat at this table, that you kind of turned that energy up to be a business owner.
Boy, nail on the head.
Oh, thanks.
Right there. Because women, all of us, I can't speak for all women. The ones I know that are in business, we're diving into a male society in business. It is very macho. We have to see if we have to outboy the boys by at least twice, if not 4 times. We have to show up and be more stronger than, these guys, they're just doing boys. I don't mean to be deprecating to these men, actually. But sometimes they do boy things that are really irritating, and they believe that just because they are a boy, that they have more power. And so a woman in business has a lot to prove. And so, yes, most of us, the ones I know, I'm sure there's others that I don't know that are not doing this, walk in, and we walk in just a little bit stronger, a little bit with our guards up. We're a little more afraid to show our vulnerability.
Right. And I know that came out more once we were together as a couple and even friends before in partnership. I mean, I think I allowed you space to uncover that and be that vulnerable, soft side of yourself that you always are. And you've never not been who you are. It's just what presents in order to survive in the world in which you are living. And when that ultimate balance is out of whack in the world, and whatever world you're in your bubble here, in the greater good world, then you adapt. And I know that's what keeps happening between things like the styles of toxic masculinity and machoism, and then men who don't know what to do. And so they just act passively. And I'd feel bad for men and women trying to figure out how to show up authentically in the world in a balanced way, because our world is out of balance.
Right. And this hyper machoism is going to die a quick death, probably. And it's going to be a hard death for these guys. Not a physical death, hopefully not, but this death of this ego that's going to take place that will, because it's out of balance. You get too far out of balance and that seesaw is going to flip. I mean, it's just going to flip. It seems to me to be at that tipping point.
Right, it is.
And that we will all be okay after a massive amount of turmoil.
Right.
Because none of this goes down without a real fight.
No, and you can simply look at history, because we know it repeats yourself, and if you don't learn from it, and we're seeing many of the same happenings occur again, and they peak at a point, whether that's a war or a famine or a who knows what we're in for. So, the question is, how do we get through that? Well, and another question, I'm going to twofold it for you specifically, is you do have wisdom with age, but also almost too much, having seen so much in your life, that I do think some of this world news is impacting you more strongly.
Ooh, it is. I think that's why. Running a business, now that I'm more in touch with my feminine side, running a country, that is not weakness. What we need is that compassion. Whoever's telling the Christian nationalists that empathy is a bad thing is selling you to hell. This is going to take you right down. Just read your Bible. That's all I got to say about that. Because I'm a child, I was born in 1954 to a father that was actually in World War II, and he had been in the war pretty much like 9 years before I'm born. So you think about that. Yeah. Like I'm born like 9 years after World War II, and I grew up with this idyllic, country of, welcoming your fighting men and women home. And yes, we had problems. Civil rights were huge problems. People still being put down. And yes, we had massive problems, but we also began to get curious in the 60s and started saying, hold up. And we had, we brought the civil rights to bear. And we got everyone discussing and giving people the freedoms to women, people of color, votes. And so I lived through this. I lived through John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and Robert Kennedy being killed within 9 months of each other, I believe, or within a year, and getting out of third grade or something and watching their funerals on TV, and the impact that had on my family, my parents, and how freedom of our democracy was everything. And we would sacrifice things for the democracy. There was never a thought in my growing up time ever, even when I wanted to protest Vietnam, which I think was a great time. That's why I really enjoyed going to protest the other day. I was too young to really get into the full Vietnam thing, but it was a worthwhile protest. And if you look through history, and I've lived it, the people that you go, those damn nasty hippies and those liberals and those people, they're the ones that make change. So while that might not be you, you're sitting here, women, with a vote because of them.
That's right.
So many things have happened in my lifetime. And then we went through the Nixon and Watergate and the whole thing. And I was like, wow, that guy was a bad actor. At the same time, and then I'm seeing a black man be a president of the United States.
Right.
So
almost a woman.
To live through all of that and to see with one sweep of a pen in less than 60 days, or I don't know how many days, feels like 6 years since we've got this authoritarian president in office, he's wiped out so much of that.
So much of it.
And it is crushing.
And I just wanted to say that because you're a very empathetic person, and I have to remind myself of that too, how hard this is for all of us.
Yeah.
And when I want to say to you, just put your phone down, we can't do anything today, no, you are an activist. You are learning what's going on and finding ways to deal with it and try to find big and small ways to make change. And so it's the classic, you're not really bothered by something until it hits home.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of this that is really going to hit home for people. And that makes me sad that we can't be American by way of supporting all Americans, that being American for some people is being in power and control and the top of the top.
The fact is, you just said that we're at that tipping point. Everybody's going to feel it.
Everybody's going to feel it.
I feel it. I think many, many people feel it. And you'll feel it in your grocery prices and all those really, really fast. And so we're going to feel it, and it's going to flip. And what I say yesterday at the movie theater, I said, I was born for this moment.
Yes.
Because when it flips, we've got to be strong and ready. And we've got to be sure of ourselves and empathetic and compassionate and stronger than a motherfucking warrior. And I don't mean that lightly. You've got to put your warrior on for a lot of this stuff that's coming up. But that warrior, the true warriors are compassionate.
Right.
And that's the warrior for justice. So that's coming up. So I'm going to be ready.
She's going to be ready.
I'm going to have a great Dane as well.
Okay, let's talk about that. First,
Okay,
we're going to talk about 2 more things before we go.
Yeah.
Number 1, do you remember or have a favorite or couple signs from the protest?
Do you? Okay, see, I have to
I'll
look
say
on my
one
phone.
first since you have to
Okay,
look. You
okay.
look and I'll tell you.
No, go ahead. You say. You say.
So it was the sign that was said, they're eating our checks, they're eating our
was mine.
balances.
Yeah.
I thought that was so
Yeah.
good to play off they're eating their cats,
Yeah.
they're eating our dogs. They are. They're literally eating our checks and balances in the system of government that keeps it working in order. So that was my favorite.
That was
well done
actually-
to that woman.
That was actually my favorite, but there was a lot of favorites. But one of mine was History is Watching. Do you want to be the one that explains to your grandchildren
Right.
that you were letting the democracy that they supposedly were going to grow up in just slide? Because why? Explain that.
I know.
Explain that to a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old.
Right.
Yeah. So we're at the tipping point. We're going to be good. But in the middle of all this, we have got to take care of our mental and our physical health.
That's right.
So
as
we
always.
did. So you took me on a date yesterday.
Yeah, so we got through our
'Cause I was
Saturday.
having a hard day.
After our Saturday, it kept going. My senior son, whole new topic, going off to college, had prom, so that was fun.
That was fun.
Took
I was there.
pictures. You were there. And then yesterday, you were in the dumps, and I said, I'm taking you out. So we went to our favorite little wine bar event in Noda, and then we went to see The Friend at the Independent Picture
Have
House,
to
another
see
friend
it.
of ours.
Yeah, you guys have got to. If you haven't been to the Independent Picture House, please go. They're so great, and they serve wine. But anyway, the one is called The Friend. We didn't know a thing about it.
No, I like doing that. Naomi Watts, Bill Murray, and a huge Great Dane.
Oh my
Those are the
God.
3 main characters.
I'm telling you, okay, this is our week off, so you were not with me last night.
Sad.
The whole time before I went to bed, I was reading about Great Danes and where I could get one in Charlotte. And they're not cheap
We
either.
go from the movies to dog owner. It's just
This Great Dane
easily
in this
persuaded.
movie, pretty much I cried the whole movie.
Bill Murray and Naomi Watts are friends, and she gets entrusted to care for this dog. And it is a beautiful
Huge.
story, not only of how it logistically works, but how emotionally
Right.
important this dog is in her life. And it was just a beautifully done movie. It doesn't sound, by what we're saying,
Yeah.
or on paper, that it would be anything
It'll make you
phenomenal.
feel good.
But it reminded me, harkened back to the times of like Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan style movies, like You've Got Mail, when she's walking around New York because they're in New York. And it was just a well done, feel good movie that even though there were tears, I will say you're not like a wreck.
I think it was me.
You don't have to be a wreck.
I think it was
after.
me. I needed a place
You needed a
I needed a
release.
place to release, and the dog. That was
So
it.
now we're getting a Great Dane. Stay tuned.
He was so big. Yeah. Anyway,
So big.
so that's
but
one
your
way.
brother had a Great Dane.
Yeah, and named Otis. And if I told you yesterday,
know.
if we get one, I'm going to name him Otis. And I'm Otis the second.
Right. I think they have a bad rap of coming across as big, scary dogs. And we did read, you read more
They're
last
cuddly.
night, but I read about it on the way
they
home.
would
and they're-
rather sit in
yeah.
your lap. Of course, they're like 150 to 180 pounds, but it's pretty big.
snuggle
Pretty
bug.
big snuggle bug. Yeah.
I'll think about it.
I think that's a really excellent way of dealing with some of the stress we're having.
Get a Great Dane.
Yeah. Or maybe a smaller dog. I don't know. But
Go
I
to
don't
the
do-
movies.
I don't
Let's
do
start
small.
small.
Yeah.
You don't do small. I'm small.
You are small. That's true. Yes. See, you're bringing out all kinds of things in me. Okay.
Well, okay.
So yeah.
All right.
So we're doing the best we can,
We're trying. Yes.
and I'm gonna finish writing this book, and we're gonna get through this time.
Yes, we are. No matter what, together. Keep listening. If you can share this podcast with someone who you think might need it, if you can subscribe because we need it, or like it, or hit us a review. We love the comments at YouTube that we don't normally see, but Kristen's so good, she'll get them to us.
Yeah.
If you have questions, comments, hit us up.
Yep. And
We
don't
hope-
forget your smoothie
Yes.
at Salted Melon.
Protein
You're
it
welcome,
up.
Salted Melon.
Right.
Anyway,
Keep moving through.
Let's do. We'll be
Be
back.
yourself. Work hard. Stay strong.
And
Any
be
other
ready.
platitudes, and be ready.
Be ready, because it's coming.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to us today, wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can now find our podcast on YouTube.
Yeah. If you liked it, please share, rate, and review. We love 5 stars. And we hope you'll work out with us online or in studio at HilliardStudioMethod.com.